Survived the craziness of September startup, and everyone is easing into the start of placement games and getting ready for regular season. It goes pretty quickly to get to this point. I've got a couple agenda items that people have sent in today. Alex from Langley's got a couple things that he wants to discuss at some point here, just some questions on C Division software. And Alex will throw to you a bit to update on U11, U13 showcase updates. Other than that, I don't really have anything super formal from an agenda standpoint, but I thought it might be a good time to have a bit of even an open forum from people on any successes or any tips and things that they may have picked up or able to share with regards to season startup and evaluations and getting your teams up and running. And if we can maybe learn from each other if there's anything that you may have done this year or tried or anything that you recommend people don't do, that would help too. So maybe we have a bit of an open forum on that for part of the call today as well. So unless people, and I'm open to any other suggestions and things that people might want to have as well on the call. So Alex, why don't I throw to you first for a couple of those updates that you have there and give people a little bit of time to think about anything they want to add to the agenda or anything that they want to share with regards to season startup tips.
Sure, Dave. U11 13 All-Star, we did a fairly substantive update at the president's meeting. I think it was last week or so. But the gist of it is, I guess the process and information has been shared at the coach manager meetings for the respective divisions. I believe the website for PCHA has been built and is just upon review before launch. Hard goods, so jerseys, we're down 2 vendors on a 5-week turnaround. So those orders will hard good orders will go in likely by the end of the month so that they're ready to go. And then coach application is probably the next actionable item for our A1 coaches is do they want to apply for that? So I believe I'll be putting together an application link and then that will be distributed by PCHA. And now that all rosters are set because tryouts are over, we'll be able to build out the ballots knowing who's on which team. So now that the rosters are set is really where we're going to get into the player selection process. So that's where we stand. Craig and Larry and Melanie have done a great job of soliciting guest speakers. So the BCEHL is committed to doing or BC Hockey, I guess, is committed to doing a presentation for our U13s on the zone program and U15 as well as on the program of excellence tracking. So those evaluation process, and we're waiting for confirmation from, I think it's Kevin Goodwin with CSSHL about them doing a presentation on high performance hockey and U15 and beyond. Guest speakers are getting locked in as well. I believe Kyle Turris is coming in to do a talk to the players as well as some other exciting people from Hockey Canada on player development opportunities and approaches. So that's, I guess, the elevator pitch or high level update as to where that's at. The other item that I had thrown to Dave when the invite went out was just looking for like best practices from other MHAs on how you guys balance your C teams. So like in the spirit of transparency or whatever. So what we do is we do an evaluation process and we host, we had assigned teams to practice groups. They practice. The practice group leader assesses the players. Then and the practice group leader is a C coach. And then after which we do like a mini rep tryouts where they perform in several scrimmage games. The coaches then assess the players in the scrimmages. That gives us a general assessment of each player. Then we do a draft with, the players being sorted based on their ranking. And therefore, and only, you can pick one of the top 10, or say we have 7 C teams. Effectively, it works. Each team picks one of the top 7 kids. Then each team then picks the kids ranked 8 to 14, and so on and so on and so on. So it gives the coach a bit of flexibility in which kid they want, but they have to select a player from that specific tier of similarly ranked players. The software we use Teams Draft, I think Surrey uses as well, and Craig would be familiar with it, and so would Jordan if he's on the call, is going out, is no longer licensing the software next year. So we're looking to see if any other MHAs do a similar process, if they have a software program they run that draft through, or how maybe they go about balancing those teams using that a similar software program. Sherb's had his hand up there.
Yeah, Alex, so we use the draft program. For C hockey, we do we have all of our C coaches attend one weekend where we have our players run 3 scrimmages. They then evaluate. We use Team Genius. They give them a ranking 1 to 5. Any players that are not in attendance, we ask the coaches for their at the draft what number would be best suited for based on what their knowledge is.
Mm-hmm.
Any new players go through a new like we have a new player skate, and we want to ensure that they can skate, pass, and stuff like that before we accept them. And then from there, we use that draft. Our Shelly, our ice allocator, has a person who uses that draft format, and that balances the teams. And so it's a computer one where they pick by it actually gives them their protections, like if there's any protections. It gives them their that process. So.
Yeah, is it the one, it's called Team Drafts? It's got a white box and then a gray box below it, and then they've got like the position, and it's got like FP if it's a protection, or FS if it's a sibling, or that one?
Yeah, I think ours is green though. Like our boxes are green, and you can pick anybody from within the green section.
Okay.
And you can only pick within the green section. I can hook them up with you if you'd like, and they can talk you through it.
Yeah,
It's an awesome program. It at the end of the draft, or as the draft is going along, it also gives us like the strengths and weaknesses of all the teams, and based on numbers, and then it'll automatically pull up whichever team is the weakest. We'll pick first in the next round, and so
yeah,
on.
so
And
that's exactly what
so
ours does. I'm worried.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
worried we have the same one, Craig.
Okay, no problem.
They informed us they're not running the program next year, so it's not available. So just ahead, I'll email Shelly.
Okay.
If it's different, that would be amazing because it sounds very similar.
Alex, we've got something really similar, but it's not a software. It's just a spreadsheet that I think we stole it from
Yeah.
Cloverdale Baseball, maybe. But so it's not a software program. It's just a Excel spreadsheet. It's got all the formulas already laid into it, but it does the same thing. You enter all the player data, and you put your protects in there, and it'll rank each team each round so that the draft order is set, and then you leave with the relative ranking of all the different teams at the end. So it doesn't cost us anything.
Okay. Yeah, I'll shoot you.
I don't know if we're
Craig,
allowed
I'll
to
shoot
share it or
Shelly an
not.
email,
I'm
and
not
I'll
sure,
shoot.
but yeah.
Well, I'll ask you, if not, you can direct me to Cloverdale Baseball.
And
I'll ask.
what do people do with regards to number of protects per division, and how rigid are people with that process? I'll just share for us, we're relatively rigid in the younger ages. So in the U7, U9, U11, yeah, all the way up to U15, where we try to limit to like a head coach, assistant coach, and a manager from the protect standpoint, and go through kind of have a robust draft that way, so there's not cliques formed or whatever, and try to have some balance to the teams. When we get to U18, we treat it a little bit differently. It's more of a social experiment or a social engineering of a draft than it is anything else, because we recognize that there is a real there's 3 years for one, but there's also a real social component to that U18 division. And if we end up with a team of all first years and they're comfortable with it, and they know they might not win as many games as a team that has all third years, that's fine. And we try not to overly stack teams for external competition or anything, but generally we try to accommodate kids that want to play together a little bit more so in that division than we do in the younger ones. So that's our philosophy around it. Seems to work for us. Sherbs, go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, we do it similar. So each of our C teams or any of the initiation teams, they're only allowed 3 protections. So that's the head coach's son, If they have an assistant coach or if they have a team manager, it's 3. And then at the end of the draft, we allow 5 minutes for trades. So the trades are organized by Shelley, our draft master, and you can only draft certain player or trade certain players, obviously, that are like players to ensure the balance. At U18, we do take friend requests and ride requests and siblings and things like that into consideration, and make sure that we accommodate as much as we can. But again, sometimes coaches will pick a player knowing that at the end of the draft, they're going to actually trade that player for somebody. So there are some, it usually balances out at the end anyways. So that's how we run it.
Awesome. Thanks. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, we're your 3 next the whole way through, but we do allow every binding request of rideshare. The loophole in our system is you protect one of the siblings, and then on our rule siblings on the same team kind of that way, right? But what we do on the age group thing, especially in U18, is when we do our rankings, we'll draft by birth year. So the first half of the draft is all of the, or third of the draft 18 is the third year, evenly distributed, then the second years, then the first years. So basically the way we achieve that is just by skewing the rankings of kids, right? So third years are 20 to 30, second years are 10 to 20, and first years are 1 to 10s. So that way the software just by a ranking of them puts in that certain order. It does skew the rankings of teams a little bit because the worst third year is better than the best second year, even though the player might not be equivalent in skill. But that was the way we figured.
Okay.
And
So Alex, we're not using. Yeah, so Alex, we're not using the same program. So we do the same thing. We draft first year, second year, third years, but our draft program separates the first year players based on the 1 to 5, and then
nice.
the second year's 1 to 5, and then the third year's 1 to 5.
Anybody else have
Gotcha.
any comments or thoughts on player distribution in your C division? We try not to call it a draft anymore. We try to call it a player distribution event, just because people get so excited when they think about a draft and they're trying to do their fantasy teams. But
Yeah.
Our teams, Dave,
go ahead,
I was just
Alex.
going to say, Craig, the only other thing we do is we do it at George Preston, which has a bar up top, and for better or worse, we encourage the coach that they're early upstairs, and then at UN specifically, there are a lot of gentlemen's agreements where they'll go, okay, we have our protections, but amongst the group, we have 5 more that we all agree we're going to take. So that kind of off record or formally sorts out the social component of you.
Cool. Alex, you broke up there, I think. Craig, you got comments or?
I was just going to say the other thing that I use the draft for is coach education. So at the very beginning of the draft, I get 30 minutes prior to the draft to talk about our development program, talk about our expectations of coaches, our coach enhancement sessions that we run every year. I supply them with the Hockey Canada list of skill analysis of what they need to work on for their division. And as well as I email them off a whole bunch of drills and practice plans to get them started for the season. And I ensure that every head coach has the Hockey Canada app. And then I go through how to use that app with those guys. So it's a really condensed 30 minutes, but I pack in as much information as I can. And then I send that information out to them also followed up after the draft. So that's a good time when you have all your coaches together to really communicate anything that's vital for their season start.
Awesome. Good stuff. Anybody else do anything radically different? Yeah, or Jamie?
I'm just curious, we've never used any of these software packages that you guys are using. We just use usually Google Sheets. But one thing that we do, I'm just curious if the software does it, is we try to spread out the problem families and problem
Right.
kids as well. But we also don't do a draft. Well, we just started doing drafts for U15 and U18, but in U11 and U13, we just pick the teams for the coaches.
Hmm.
So we get to spread those problem kids around where we draft. People know who to avoid, but if you have a new coach, he gets stuck with all the problem kids. So I'm just wondering if like the software, like do you have a way to flag families that should be spread around, or is that just you have to you kind of just have to know?
Yeah, I mean, good point. It's we try to spread them around as well, but it is internal sort of knowledge of the families and the players, and sometimes your division manager will have some insight. Sometimes you can see it as you go through the draft, and this kid that's really highly ranked is still on the board 3 or 4 rounds later, and you wonder why. But yeah, no, that's there's no way I don't other than that in the software to really capture it that are in the sheets we use. But the philosophy is the same. It's interesting that you'd say that you guys just centrally assign the teams in the younger divisions, and the coach then just gets handed his players, and away they go.
Yeah, we just started doing a draft for U15 and U18. I want to say like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it's actually been pretty successful, I would say. And we kind of didn't realize that, at least I didn't realize that other associations were all drafting until this call. So we will probably be drafting for U11 and U13. Like, do you guys do it for like U7
I
and
don't know. I
U9
kind
as
of like
well?
your
Or?
I kind of like your suggestion of just we've sliced it and diced it. Here's your team, away you go.
Yeah.
Has some merits to it as well, in my opinion. But
Yeah, well, I
We
can
sliced and
say,
Yeah,
diced it
yeah.
one year, and the coaches went absolutely bananas because,
Mhm.
there are, like you said, Dave, a bit of social circles, a bit of peer and group right consideration, things that they factor in their selections, or even just, parents had in the past that had positive interactions with that want to maybe, try something new. There that but we draft U7, 9, 11, 13, 18, and then U21 is just we're gonna over engineer that.
right.
Yeah, Jamie, we in Cloverdale use the draft system for our U7 major, U7 minor, and our U9 major and U9 minor as well. I think the what you guys are talking about with problem families or problem parents or things like that, we do all take those into consideration. If there's families that do not get along or children that don't get along, we ensure that we make that note to the parent or to the coaches when they're drafting their teams. Um, there was, and then with females, we tried if some females put a request in to be with other females, some don't. So we try to put, if we don't want a female by herself, so we would put 2 girls on each team if that's possible, and go that route. So
yeah, it's super interesting to me. Yeah, I just didn't realize, like, when I talk to Pacific Coast and I say we want to do a draft this year, everyone's like, no, you can't do that, not allowed. So we just kind of did it in the background, thinking we were being super sneaky, but it turns out we were the only ones not doing it. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
and I
we,
think
we
for the problem families too, like having the draft, we found if you have a new coach, he might get stuck with a lot of the, depending on what the problems are, those problem families. But if you have, like, some coaches don't mind certain families, where another coach is like, keep that family away from me. So
yeah.
being able to choose your players actually works out nicely for us as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it helps that way. I think as long as you let everybody know up front that everybody's got to take a little bit of garbage with their team, for lack of a better term, of somebody they may not want, or maybe a newer player or an unknown player, that type of thing. That those need to get spread across the different teams, particularly if you've seen it before, where that new coach becomes the dumping ground for the misfit team kind of thing, and that never works out well in the end kind of thing. So. And then the other challenge we face is moving kids after the fact, after the draft. You get them settled into their teams, and then you get this bizarre request that this person can't be with this person, or this coach doesn't fit with this particular family. And anytime you make one move, it's a domino effect of 9 different moves that have to happen, and you're upsetting coaches and other people. But sometimes you just have to step in and make the move and do that. But Levi, you got your hand up?
Yeah, hey, Levi with VMHA, sort of new to the group, so thanks for having me
Welcome.
on. Yeah, I think we do drafts. I had like a bunch of different kids in different age groups, so I'm not that familiar with how the draft process is worked yet. But I was curious, Jamie, you mentioned PCAHA says like, or organizing body says don't do drafts. Like, what was the basis of that conversation, or what were the specifics there?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been trying to do drafts in Abbotsford for like years and years and years. And well, this is my first year as president, just to be very clear. So I'm always been like VP or a different role, but I've always wanted to do drafts. And so usually I would always be told no, PCHA doesn't allow it. And then it became going to like wherever BC Hockey AGM, you have a few drinks and you talk to PCHA and they're like, nope, can't do it. You kind of argue with them for a bit. And every year it just became the same conversation until eventually it's like, okay, well, this is silly. We're just going to do a draft anyways. We're just not going to tell anybody. But as far as the reasoning, I think it's a lot of the reasons. Well, some of it might be like those problem parent reasons and stacking teams. I think they're worried about that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
like we don't have those issues. So, yeah, as far as I know, the other thing was they keep saying it's in the rules, you can't do a draft, but you look in the rule book and there's no rule saying you can't draft your teams. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the extent of my conversation with them about that.
Well, if you need some guidance on the drafting process and stuff, reach out to any one of us. We're happy to help. The whole idea is that would theoretically fairly distribute the players across the different teams, but you do some coaches are more astute than others in how they pick their teams, or even sometimes the protections that they have line up to be, the best forward, the best goalie, and the best defenseman, and they all end up on the same team kind of thing, and that skews things a little bit too. But awesome. Good discussion though. Any other things from season startup that people want to share that worked well for them, or were challenges, or you need a little bit of ideas or idea sharing or anything around?
For our rep, we partnered up with Langley, Ridge Meadows, and Coquitlam, and we ran so each association ran a division U11, U13, U15, U18 during tryouts, which really helped us out. We did that over a weekend, so we didn't have to scramble to find exhibition games or anything like that. It was a jamboree type setting, and that process really worked well for us.
Was that your ice allocators working together on finding ice time and those things? Is that?
We basically agreed that we would take one division, and then we found the ice time for that. So
Okay.
I think we hosted U18. I know Coquitlam hosted U11. Alex, did you guys do U15? And
We had
then
15, and then Jordan and Ridge had 13. Yeah, it's
13.
basically
Yeah.
just everybody indicates how many teams they're going to have in each respective division. And then, so we would tell, Sherbs, hey, we have 3 U18 teams coming. Ridge would say 2. Craig would, or Shelly, or whomever did the scheduling, would look at where they played last year in terms of flight for competitive balance, or nominally just A1s in one bracket, 2s in one bracket, 3s in the next bracket, so on. And then they played one game against each of the other MHA's teams. So our A1 team would play Cloverdale, Ridge, and Coquitlam, and get 3 exhibition games in over the course of the weekend. And that helped them, set their roster and just getting bang, 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 3 games in over 2 or 3 days.
Cool.
I would be interested to find out just from this call when people started their U11 rep tryouts.
I was just going to ask the same question. Are people still avoiding that first week of school?
We
these
started
things?
our September. Yes, we Cloverdale started September 7th,
Yeah, we started around that same.
and my team was finalized on the 15th.
Yeah, we were similar. Did anybody go earlier with their?
We went earlier. We just aligned everything on the same schedule.
Mhm.
It'd be nice if we could avoid it, but just with the amount of ice we require for the C evaluation weekend, the U7, U9 evaluations, the actual RTO, like all of the facilities push back on blocking us out any ice time for U11 after that week. So like Sportsplex couldn't give us anything, Twin couldn't, because they've also got Twins got U15, PCEHL first showcase in September too, right? So we're just so cramped. Maybe with the new rink we'll look at it next year, but for the last couple of years we've just aligned everything at the same times.
Yeah, we went earlier in Richmond. We've done that for the last number of years. I think, as Alex said, once you get the C teams going, that first weekend is just crazy. And even though we have lots of ice in Richmond, it's still a bog to get everything done. And what we found too is the rep started earlier this year. So it was a bit of a push to get all the teams set. So I couldn't imagine waiting till the second week of September and only having a couple weeks to get your teams in place. So no, we found it's better to go early, get it done, and then move forward. But we don't do the Labor Day weekend. We give everyone that weekend off, all teams, so we're not on the ice.
Yeah,
So
same here. We do the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, and then come
Yeah.
back on the Tuesday assigned to an individual team's tryout group rather than the big collective thing.
Yep.
So Wayne, did you guys start your U13, U15, U18 August like 15th then?
No, the
Or
week before Labor Day. So which was it, August 23rd? We started everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, we went that whole week.
And you were still able to get everybody on through with what you guys. So we didn't have enough ice then for us because we started on the 22nd.
Okay.
And we had teams going right through the long weekend because we just didn't have enough ice because of pool skates and things like that. So
Okay.
unfortunately, like we pushed it back. We were going to start the week before as usual, but we tried to move it back, which we were successful in doing it. But we had to have teams skate. Some of them skated on the Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, well, we have 6 ice sheets in Richmond too, and it's not and we found the week before Labor Day is not a busy time of year for ice usage because all the camps are pretty much done. And so yeah, that was the best time to go about doing it. So yeah, we got them all done, and then took the Labor Day weekend off and started back up on the Tuesday. And our A1 teams were generally done by mid-September, U11 to U13, U11 to U18, and then the rest were done by the end of September.
So nobody had any pushback against the starting during the first week of school, so-called rule, when the kids don't even know who their teacher is yet anyways. Stress of it all.
No, we've been doing it for a number of
couple-
years, and we never really have had pushback. I think the parents actually like doing it before school starts.
Yeah, we had, I mean, it's all outcome driven, right? So we send out our dates for
That's true.
tryouts in March, like so everybody can plan their summer and know when they have to be back for tryouts. And then we get the, hey, we booked a trip to wherever during, the end of August, so we're going to miss tryouts. Hockey Canada pathway says you can't start tryouts, so you need to change it because we're on holiday. And we go, well, that's, a recommendation. It's not or a guideline. It's not necessarily a mandate. And then, if their kid doesn't make the team that they think, then there's a complaint that it started too early for them to get their feet under them to perform at their best or whatever. So I think it's not typically timeline. It's more, how did this conflict with my personal family plans, or did I not get the outcome I wanted?
So
Yeah.
Alex, how do you deal with a family that did not make any of your tryouts? How do you decide where they are going to go in a fair process?
if you don't attend evaluate, like it depends on the situation. Like if they're gonna miss phase one, we're typically pretty lenient in terms of, okay, well, in phase two, we'll have you skate with group one, group two, and group three, and we'll get an assessment from you at all levels. So you're still eligible to make any team. But we get a sense of where you should be moving into phase three. If they miss phase two, then, you know, we rely on their scores from phase one for placement in phase three. But if they miss everything from August 23rd to September 19th, like at that point, like, here's your rep tryout money back, unfortunately, but you're gonna have to play in the C program. You can't make a team
Mm.
on
Yeah.
reputation.
See, we had a situation this year with a player that missed our rep tryout process, came back at the end of the rep tryout process and felt that he could just go and parachute into the A1 pool.
We had the same in U13. We had a kid, he was injured,
Yeah,
missed
well,
all of
injured
phase
is
one.
yeah, but injury is different. This is a family that
Well,
went on
definitely,
vacation.
but what his belief was, well, because I was injured and missed all of phase one and two, I should be inserted into the A1 tryout group to skate with them. And then if the A1 coach doesn't like me, I should go to the two, then the three, then the four. And it's like, well, then I would always, you know, quote, break my thumb in tryouts and just jump to the A1 group and see how it goes. So our process there is based on previous playing history, you get inserted. And if you're injured until beyond the final team setting their roster, then a coach can roster you based on reputation and reference from your previous year's coach or evaluations. But it comes with the caveat of, you know, understand that you're probably going to play on a team or two lower than you might think you should, because you're making a team sight unseen based on your reputation and previous seasons, not based on where you are currently.
Does
And then
anybody else
usually
have
that
does anybody else have like a rep policy in regards to players that are missing for vacations or just absences for like obviously not U18, because if you got U18 players that are trying out in junior camps and things like that, or zone players, I get that, but more in the U13 level, U11, families that decide, hey, we didn't know tryouts happened to be there, and we're on a cruise, and we're not going to be able to get back until the last day or after the tryouts are done, and you guys are into your working groups. For me, it was kind of okay. Well, if we allow this player to go up into the A1 pool, what's to stop everybody from going away the following year and just skip the whole bloody tryout? Oh, because I'm going to get placed in the, because where does that stop? And how do you police that? If
one
there's
thing we
anybody
did,
else that
Craig,
has a policy.
we don't really have a policy per se, but like what I do is when we book we book our RTO ice in like January, February, right? Like I'm sure you do something similar. And then as soon as it's booked, we don't send out the times, but we send out these are the dates. So it will start and these are the days we have ice and not. And it goes to everybody U7 to U21. So if you played in our
Oh
association
yeah.
the year previous, you have the dates well before you're making any fall plans. And
Oh,
then
I
if
get it.
somebody, yeah, and then we just go, here, you were CC'd on this email. Here's the email, shows you had the info.
Yep.
Um, and then, you know, like that was a decision you made with all of the information. So the accountability is on you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Levi, you got your hand
Yeah,
up?
just yeah, VMHA, we do have a rep policy that sort of dictates what happens in the case of an injury and whether or not someone's unable to attend. There might be a few kind of exemptions around, family tragedy or emergency sort of things, but overall, it's up to the parents to plan accordingly if they are planning on trying out. And we've been giving out the schedules for the summertime kind of tryouts in spring to help to get parents to plan as they would. One question I did have for the group is, does anyone know of tryouts that happen? I mean, and maybe this is like somewhere else in BC, but is there anywhere where they do tryouts like in the spring for the
Dave, you're up.
following
Yeah,
season?
thanks. We trialed it this year for our U15 A1 program. We did a spring, was a bit of a two-part. We did a spring tryout to sort of populate like 80% of that team and get commitments there in the spring with a September follow-up tryout to do the rest of the team. And I think it was pretty successful for us. I think we had about 40 kids, I guess, at that spring tryout, and we're able to name, I think originally we'd name like 10 or 12 kids to the team. Of those, some of them didn't accept, and they were in concurrent tryouts at other places, and they went to Valley West or some other options at the time. So I think we ended up with about 9 players actually committed to the team that didn't have to participate in the fall tryout. And then we had a fall tryout with another, I think we had 35 kids or so at that populated the rest of the A1 team and our full A2 team from that tryout.
And sorry, that was
I think
just for U15?
Just for U15. I think we're looking to do the same for U18 next year. What we found is that you get the hooks in and the commitment from your maybe upper end of your group. Your risk though is that kid that thinks he should be on that team and maybe would make the team at the end of the day in the September tryout gets offended that they don't make it in that initial commitment of 10 kids or whatever, and they go look somewhere else to play and maybe take the sure thing at a whatever non-sanctioned program or whatever it might be instead. But our argument is like, rather keep the upper end guys happy, and if you lose a couple that were borderline making your team anyways, then you got to pick your poison there, I guess, and that's kind of thinking that we have.
I mean, one quick point for us, like we're maybe not looking at doing like a tryout in the spring, but we were kind of thinking we need a bit more certainty around how many players we're going to have for rep tryouts. And so for that point of view, we were thinking of having like a couple ice times where it's like a rep ID skate. And so we just have guys come out and be like, indicate that they're likely going to, put their
over to you, Wayne, on that one. I think that's what Richmond's done successfully, correct?
Yeah, we do a U9 skate for players, any player in U9 that might be interested in the rep program. Actually, before the end of the year, we do it in March, and then we do rep ID skates for all divisions in June before the end of school, where people are still around. And we also wrap that into, we do a presentation just on the rep program and open the floor to all parents to join, and our rep director does that and answer questions. And that time we talk about schedules, we talk about commitment level, we talk about costs, and we're like everyone else. We get our rep tryout schedules out in February, March. We don't really have a lot of lenience towards I'm going on vacation. Basically, we've turned people away that have said, sorry, I can't make the first week because I'm on vacation. And we just said, yeah, you're out of luck. And so we've had like issues like other people is like they have used vacations to maybe be placed in a different working group than maybe they should. But we generally would never place any players in an A1 working group. They would have to start below that and work their way back up, not go to the top and work their way down. But injuries, sickness, family circumstances, they're all taken into account. And the other one we have a bit more lenience is U18 because of junior. Some kids are just not maybe ready to commit right away. And as we saw this year, I don't know if you guys might have not experienced in the Fraser Valley, but we saw a lot of zone players in U18 come back late because the U18 zone program, GVC, is just not as good as it used to be. And so we had to accommodate them, make some exceptions. So, yeah. But yeah, if anyone's interested, I mean, our rep policies are all on there, pretty well spells it out on our website, pretty much, and same as the C draft policy, we have that on our website too.
Awesome. Thanks, Wayne. North Shore.
Brigham Jagger North Shore Winter Club. So going back to their spring tryouts, we did that with their U13s this year as kind of a trial, and it was almost based on what some soccer programs have done. That was one reason. And secondly, we're trying to reduce the noise in September and October, and so I think it was successful in reducing the noise in September, October. that doesn't mean it wasn't quiet throughout the summer. It just kind of spread it out a little bit. But I think Dave, same as what you were saying, is there was some concern about the bubble players that could have made it, and were offended, and so we lost quite a few. We lost more than we anticipated in that second level, which was unfortunate in that sense. But we did see as a good opportunity also to kind of combat the non-sanctioned decision-making process. So I think we were successful on that end. We just didn't really anticipate losing as many in the kind of what turned out to be the A2 level group.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. That was maybe in the second year of it, people understand even at our association. Oh, I can still make that team because a number of them that stuck in there, hey, they made the team in the September tryout. So I think there was maybe that fear is maybe alleviated a little bit for people that okay, I'll have a place to play in September, and maybe we can spell it out a little bit more to them where they actually stand at the end of that spring one. Say, hey, you're really close. We just need to follow the process and do a summer evaluation. If you keep going the way you are, or you keep going the way you are, you'll make it in the fall or whatever.
Yeah, I think that the communication would really help in that sense. And also, I think
Yeah.
I think looking back, the core we ended up going with was bigger than we anticipated. Kind of where they separated from everyone, and so I think that just left less spots for people thinking they could make them.
Yeah.
So we might tighten that up next time.
Yeah, good. The other thing we found with this
Jay, just one question, Jagger. Did you notice that? Like, I'm not sure if that, did anybody say, okay, well, I'm not making your A1 team. I'm going to play HBL. Did you lose any players that
Yes.
said, okay, well, I don't have a spot there. I'm out of here.
We did. Yeah. So that that kind of A2 level group, we did lose quite a few there. That's exactly what they did. Yeah.
But I mean, the good news is losing them at that point of the year is better than losing them in the first week of September.
I mean, we lost to some the previous year in September, and then we actually had to in the U13 group we had to go down a team.
Yeah,
which created a bunch of problems. So
yeah, for sure. Awesome. The other challenge we had a bit with the spring one is you don't get the exhibition game ability that you do in the fall. So maybe if more teams are doing it, we should talk about the possibility of having a couple of exhibition games to see your group against different jerseys.
Yeah.
Cool. Jamie? I think you're still on mute.
Sorry about that. We had an issue this year. Well, maybe issue is the wrong word to use, but with our tryouts, we kind of did everything like blindly. So whatever you did in tryouts kind of represented the team that you made. But what we found was we had some U11 players that are now in U13 this season. They played U11 A1 last year, and this year they got sent down to U13 house based on their performance at tryouts this year. So obviously those families are upset, and the optics are a little bit bad for us because we just did it by the numbers this year. But when you have kids that played A1 one year and host the next year, it doesn't look great. But I'm just curious, like, what do other people do? Like, is your previous team a factor in your current year's rep tryouts?
I can answer that because it was a big topic at our latest board meeting. We had 5 players who played U13 A2 as first years returned to the A2 team for a second season, which 2 of whom were board members' children. So that was a popular topic at our debrief. We do it based on merit. Like you never know, like people expect to progress, but also the first years are quite good. We had some players return from HPL, and then also our U11 A1 coach from the year previous coached the U13 A2 team, and they had a lot of first years on that group last year and were not particularly successful. So maybe they were overplaced last year, leading to disappointment this year, right? So that's sort of where like you don't want to let a mistake potentially compound year to year to year because you feel beholden to the assessment last year and you don't know who went on the hamburger and cheeseburger diet all summer and didn't work. And isolate a kid in house based on, well, he's previously played house, so he's happy to play house, so leave him there and let the other kid play rep. It's uncommon, but we also have kids in U18 specifically that move down teams, right? Like we have our U18 A1 goalie, one of whom is now playing A2 this year. He just got passed by a kid who returned from JPHL and the other A1 goalie. So I like to say to families, it's not that you couldn't play at that level. Like if we had the 7 best defensemen in British Columbia all playing in Langley, one would play A2, and it's not a reflection of their individual ability, but a reflection of how they're evaluated within their peer group. And their peer group changes year to year to year based on who comes, who goes, and what birth year they cohort with. Also, U11 to 13 is a high volatility one because they start assigning a position, right?
Mhm.
So you were really talented last year, and you still are quite talented, but you made a defenseman, or right? Evaluator feedback is huge, though. Like I don't know what your RTO process is, but
Yeah, well, actually, that brings up another question: is like U11 is supposed to be positionless, but we had major, a lot of feedback last year of our tryouts, and people did not like the positionless U11. So this year we actually did do positions for tryouts, but is that, or what are other associations doing? Like, is it all positionless
we
for
did
everybody, or?
we indicate a position preference, and so we evaluated them holistically. But if preference, you were proportionally evaluated at that position, and then we said we're going to take the 15 best athletes regardless of your preference. But it's good to know before we set the A1 team that we don't have 15 kids who want to play forwards and have to twist 6 arms every night. So it allowed the coach to have some conversations with athletes about, hey, you're right there. Are you interested in playing D, or are you interested in playing forward, or would that be a problem all year? Because that solved the headaches of, by December, my kid's a forward, but the coach is playing him 2 games at D and then 1 game at forward, 2 games at D. So that allowed us to incorporate parent or player preference, but also place the best players where they should be. And then also have a bit of a heads up on if any parents were going to complain about being on a team with 13 desired forwards or whatever, right?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Craig?
Yeah, I thanks Jamie for bringing that up. I had two topics to bring up, and that was one of them. I think that was something that our membership was also questioning is why don't we identify forwards in defense? And typically what ends up happening is parents are pretty smart. They're pretty intelligent. When we did this in the past, they'll look and say, okay, well, there's only 8 defensemen trying out for rep. Son, you're a defenseman. And he's never played defense before. And just because a player signs up as a defenseman doesn't, in my mind, doesn't guarantee you a spot in rep hockey. You still, at the U11, we did not do that this year. We stuck with our guns to have no, positionless. That said, there were players during the games and during the scrimmages that definitely wanted to play defense, and that's all they played with defense. Everyone was asked to rotate through every period, position wise. We started in different positions, and those players that wanted to stay as defense they asked the coach to stay back there. And subsequently, when it came to picking the pools, those players that wanted to play defense, those better ones, were in the A1 pool anyways. I still had to convert 2. I'm actually the head coach of the U11 A1, so I had to convert two forwards to play defense. But I have a rotation, so it's pretty fair right now. I would explain that to your parent group that kids this young should get the benefit of trying all those positions, because that way they're gonna gravitate to one when they're in the U13 level.
I think it's a consequence of U9 going to full ice is that you're going to have a player group moving into U11 moving forward that's played 2 seasons of full ice
Yes,
and will likely have identified
yes,
their position of preference over those 2 years,
yeah.
right? So it's not
Well,
like
and
going
now
into U11 where they've played cross ice till they get their 6 full ice games or whatever it was.
and
I think that's
and
the trickle down.
yeah, and that's what that was kind of my next question, is because U8, U9 is now all lumped together and it's just U9 and we have players playing 2 years of full ice hockey. Um, should they not then have to say, have that preference of saying I'm a defenseman after playing 2 years at U8 and U9? And then my other question is there any associations that did not do the transition skates? Those transition skates that are those 4 skates that we're supposed to do that are, getting them into full ice hockey and what offside is and line changes and things like that. We still do them in Cloverdale, but I was looking at it saying, is this kind of redundant now that we have U8, U9 players playing full ice, and especially Impact Coast, right? Does anybody else do those transition skates?
Yeah, we still do it. Just for that minor kid that still wants to try out for U11 rep, and it's also going to help them when they get into U11C if that's their route as well, because they'll have to get used to the way the game's called at that point too. And then with regards,
but Dave, they're still playing even minors.
Oh, they have another year of U9, yeah.
Or
they haven't.
Like if you're a U8 player, let's say your first year U8, or first year U9, you're playing 2 years of full ice hockey, and then you get this
transition, but then you go back to another year on potentially cross ice or small ice, anyways, and then you start again with another transition. Yeah.
Well, are you U9s the U9s play full ice all year? There's no cross ice in U9 anymore. It's all full ice.
Your whole U9 division's full ice, or just
all of them?
Major. Okay.
Yeah, that's the same in PCL. It's all major, minor. It's all full ice. So the transition actually, this transition starts before maybe they engage in full ice. Say whenever the season starts, that's when they start doing full ice concepts and drills, mainly for the first years. But yeah, it's the same in PCL. It's all full ice, so there's no real transition anymore.
Okay. There's a question in the chat about how people are breaking down their U9 major, minor, and so if people want to throw in their comments in there, we can record it in that area.
There was guidelines sent out, Dave.
Yeah.
So with the recommendations, I mean, we're essentially 2 major in each division. So, and that's based on skill level of the players. You never know until you see the players on the ice what you're actually going to accomplish at the start of the year. So I think this year we're going with 2 in each, in U7 and 2 in U9.
Thanks.
Yeah, we are the same. We just don't have the numbers like Alex does, where we can get more major teams. So we have, I think, 5 minor teams and 2 major.
Yeah, part of it's making that decision.
Question for the
Craig, sorry, just quick, both for U7 and U9, you got 2 and 5?
Yes.
Did anyone do like we did for the first time this year, a goalie evaluation in U9? Because one of the things we found was that a lot of athletes, and Dave, you were the benefit of this because one of ours transferred to semi.
Oh, don't call it a benefit. Don't you dare call that a benefit.
Yeah, you'll that greasy wheel will squeak.
Thanks for that bomb.
For the next 8. It's a lot of some athletes have identified that they want to play goalie because they rotate in U9. They assess poorly as a skater and end up in minor, despite potentially being your most talented goalie in their birth year. And that was something we identified as a problem for athletes moving into U11 and days to in the future. What we did was we did a separate ice time for athletes that had indicated that they would like to play goalie. I think we said, I mean, we were very clear. Everyone still gets the opportunity to play. You have to, assess as a major caliber skater as well, or at least in the realm of it's viable for you to major out when someone else wants in. But if you're a goalie that hopes to play at least everyone wants to do it, come out to this ice time, get assessed by our goalie group. So that way we know who wants to play goalie and therefore distribute them. So one team doesn't have 4 kids that love goalie and 1 0. So it flagged for us who's going to want to play goalie a ton, but also it allowed us to look at who is both a major proficient skater and a major proficient goaltender. Or if maybe it's just better to put a major caliber athlete in goal for your team as a goalie. But I'm just curious if how people handled goalies in U9 for the major minor divide.
Alex, we had to end up with an evaluation process as well. We had, I think, 6 interested full-time goalies, but we were only going to take sort of 4 spots in major. So we went through very rushed, not as detailed as a regular rep tryout, but a bit of a goalie assessment process or whatever to make the decision on the 4 goalies that we wanted or that would be the best suited for those teams. And then we had the other 2 were invited to practice with those teams on a regular basis, as well as playing a little more regularly on their minor team as well. But I think it's a necessity now to have a goalie evaluation component to it. Yeah,
to me it just felt really weird to have a major team like proficient players who can properly shoot, etc. And then you might have in your minor division just based on their proficiency as a skater, they'll be play versus staying in minor hockey, right?
Yeah. Awesome. I guess we're getting towards the end of our time here. Really good discussion on those topics, guys. I actually learned a lot on some season startup ideas and things from everyone. So really appreciate it. If we have any other topics for discussion between now and the next meeting, fire them in, and we will try to get them on the agenda for some more good discussion. But we'll let people kind of get settled into their regular season things now, and we're hurtling towards Alex's event with the U11, U13, and people check your inboxes for more information coming on that as well. Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks all.
Have a good
Take
day.
care.
Thanks a lot.
We'll see you soon. Thanks, Dave.